The size of the aperture you've chosen plays a direct part in how much depth of field you'll achieve. Smaller holes allow for a deeper in-focus playing field, while larger holes strip it away. To see this and really understand how it all works, you need to be familiar with and use the depth of field preview button, probably the single most important button on your camera. The depth of field preview button will usually be found on the right or left side of your camera, near the lens. Here, on the D200, Nikon's D200, the depth of field button is found on the right side, and push it in, and it works. Now, on your camera, it might be on the left, and it might be somewhere else. It'd be a good time now to look in your manual, if you've got buttons on your camera that you don't know what they do, to check it out, and find the one that says depth of field preview button. Now this is really important, you see, because when depressed, that button allows you to see what's really in focus and what isn't. This is different than what you do normally. See, when you look through your camera normally, you can't tell. It's kind of scary in a way when you think about it. That when we look through a camera, we don't know if something's really going to be in focus when we look through it, because the camera's lying to you. Here, let's do a test. Grab your SLR and make sure you know where your depth of field preview button is. Spin your focus ring to minimum focal distance. Get it to where you can shoot very close. Now, put two subjects in front of you about 3 inches apart. Water bottles work great for this. And again, remember, one water bottle in front of the other. Now look through your viewfinder and make sure that that first water bottle is in crisp focus. If you need to pause the video right now so you can grab some water bottles, please do, because it's really going to help. Okay, again, minimum focal distance. I move my body forward and back until that first water bottle is in crisp focus. If not, then keep moving until you find it. Remember, don't touch your lens when you're doing this. You're moving your body to get the focus. All right. Once you've done that, take a look through your camera at that second water bottle. Notice how blurry it is. Now, if it's not blurry, go ahead and compress a little bit, zoom until it is. But keep working until you've got one water bottle that's in crisp focus and the one behind it is blurry. Well, keep doing that. And then, once that's accomplished, you bring your camera back down and now adjust your aperture and put it on a very tiny hole. Oh, say f/18 or f/20, something like that. If you want to go smaller, that's fine too. Just change your aperture. Now, look back in your camera. Put it right next to that front water bottle. And what do you notice about that blur in the back? Nothing. See, that blur didn't change. See, this is because the camera lies to you each time you look through the lens. It only shows you the world as if seen through the largest hole, even though you may have picked, just like we did, a small one. What this means is really, really important. Without using your depth of field preview button, you have no way of knowing what's going to be in focus and what isn't. Let me say that one more time and a little bit slower. If you don't use your depth of field preview button, you have no way of knowing what's going to be in focus and what isn't. You know what? For a photographer, that's a pretty important thing, to know what's in focus. Let me give you an example. I want you to take a look inside this camera for me. Now, see, there's the hole. See the aperture, that opening right there? When I depress the depth of field preview button, now that I have the aperture set very small in camera, watch what happens. Do you notice how very quickly it shrank? Look at how small that is. Watch. You know what size that is? That's f/20. Watch again. That's how small f/20 is. Now watch as I change the aperture to f/9. Now watch. f/9 is not as small as f/20. Watch. f/4.5. Nothing happened. Why? Because f/4.5 is the largest hole this has. By pushing this in and showing me what the aperture is going to shrink to when I shoot, doesn't do anything. But wait, if I wanted to shoot on f/22 because I needed more depth, the only way I can see more depth before I take the picture is to push this in. If I don't push this in, all I see the world through is the biggest hole. Now see, that's important. That's majorly important. And again, this gives you a really good idea. Take your camera, do it yourself. Turn your camera around and check that out. Make sure you've got a tiny hole picked and check out how small that gets. Go through them all. Test this so you understand what it really does. Having some control over your camera and knowing what the tools do is really important for an in-focus photographer. Keep in mind, watch this, f/22. Keep in mind that f/22 shrinks the hole. Now what does that mean? It means it's going to get very dark inside there. When you look through the camera, as a matter of fact, at f/22, things are going to get very, very dark. That doesn't mean your picture's dark. You got to remember, the hole doesn't dictate how bright or dark your picture is. The shutter does. You're going to use your shutter and adjust it to get the proper lighting no matter what. So don't worry about it getting dark. But what you want to do is those 2 water bottles. Now, at your smaller hole, get back up to that first water bottle. Now, push your depth of field preview in. Yes, I know it gets dark. It's supposed to, because the hole shrank. We just went through that. But I want you to notice that second water bottle. Try it again. Push it in, let it out. Push it in, let it out. Notice the blur in the second water bottle. When you push your depth of field preview in, the blur goes away. When you let it out, it comes back. When you take that picture, as soon as the shutter comes down and you take that picture, the hole's going to shrink to be what you told it to be. That's right. The only time the hole shrinks, if you're not using your depth of field preview button, is when you take the picture. Man, how important is that then? If you're actually trying to pay attention to what's in focus, to control the focus area, the depth of field button is one of the most important things on a camera. You can see this now. Do yourself a favor. Change your holes a lot. Go outside. Shoot things that are very close to you and practice with your depth of field preview. Try to get 2 water bottles in focus. Then make it harder on yourself and do 3. The point is to practice with that depth of field so that you can see the power aperture has in depth of field. Hole choice is dramatic. A smaller hole will give you more things in focus. This is really important. More things in focus with a smaller hole. How much more? That's what the depth of field preview is. So if you're not used to it, get used to it very quick. Good luck. You got a lot of work to do.